Hey y'all, I'm back. So today we're going to do a movie review. So, spoiler alert, I am telling this movie. I'm telling the movie, okay? So, scroll up if you don't want to hear about this total stranger movie. It is currently streaming on Tubi TV. So, this movie is about a roommate situation from hell. We got Patty, who is the blonde lady, and Laura, who's the brown-haired lady. So, the scene opens with Laura, who's the younger lady. She's in her 20s. She's taking a bath in the tub. The next thing we hear is banging and yelling on the bathroom door. Laura pops out of the tub, she gets dressed, and she's yelling. She's yelling, "Leave me alone." This guy bursts through the door, and then they get into a scuffle, and she runs out of the house, okay? She was able to flag down a random car passing by. So the man that picks her up is asking, "Hey, are you okay? Is there anything I could do to help, etc.?" And she loses it on him. She tells him to pull over and stop the car, etc. So later we see her at the hospital and she's explaining that she was in a DV incident with her landlord and she left her medication and she was just worried, about retrieving her medication because this man is abusive and she can't go back there, etc. Just painting the picture. Okay. Now, months later, Laura has moved and enrolled herself into a college. She's like some sort of biomedical engineer. She worked with diseases and shit. Like, that's what she does. She tests on rats. In comes in Patty. Patty is a recently divorcee who's kind of lonely. Her daughter enrolled in college and she moved out. And she's kind of trying to pick up the pieces of her life. Like, she opened a boutique store with her best friend and she's just trying to get on her feet. And she decides she wants to take in a roommate. Now, she going through potential tenants and then she meets Laura. Laura and Patty kind of hit it off, right? Patty is kind of going through what the rules are in order to live there. Hey, the rooms upstairs, everything upstairs is mine. You are off limits for going upstairs. The kitchen is a shared space and you have your own room. But her intention was to keep the utility costs low, so that's why she's taking on a roommate. Laura tells Patty she's a quiet student, she's just trying to graduate, etc. So she paints the picture of just a nice girl. But like I said, they hit it off, and Patty was like, "Hey, if your references check out, I think this is going to work out." So Laura gets the boy at school that like her to pose as one of the references and tells Patty how great of a roomer she is, and, you won't have any problems with her. She's just great. Because the boy, trying to exchange favors, like, "Hey, I did this for you, let me take you to dinner." And she just keep putting him off. So Laura moves in, and that night she makes dinner for her and Patty to try to, break bread, let's bond. Now, over dinner, Patty was like, "Hey, I just printed off this lease I found off the internet. We can just, make this official and we'll both sign the lease." She did not read the lease before giving it to Laura. I just want to point that out. Laura signs the lease, and you could tell Laura noticed that none of the shit that Patty was saying verbally is in the lease. So she signs it. Later, they're having wine with Patty's mom's special, wine glasses, and they're kikiing, right? Patty goes to get up to clean up, right? Laura tries to yank the tray out of Patty's hand. She's like, "Hey, no, I got it. I can clean up." And the glasses, these special nostalgic glasses, goes falling, crashing to the floor. Laura apologizes, and Patty's like, "Well, I guess it just wasn't meant to be." And they move on. The next day, everything seems to be smoothed over. Patty's outside talking to the gardener. Now, the gardener kind of feeling Patty, and Patty kind of feeling the gardener. So they got a thing for each other. And Laura notices that. Patty comes back in the house, grabs her keys, and is like, "Hey, Laura, make sure you lock up before you leave. I'm on my way. Have a good day." Laura's like, "Okay, bye," etc. So when Patty leaves, Laura goes upstairs. Remember, I told you she wasn't supposed to go upstairs. That was one of the verbal rules. Okay. And Laura just starts violating. She goes in the woman's, she sits on the lady's bed. She smelling perfume. She going through the lady's mail. Just breaking rules immediately. Then Laura heads to school. When she gets to school, she bumps into the boy that like her. And she just happens to look across campus and she sees her old landlord asking people if they know her. She get the boy that like her to lie to the man and say, hey, she don't go here no more. She left, in with no intention of returning, to try to throw him off the scent. Now you remember I told you she was left her medication. She mentioned she left her medication in that man's house. Now she's been calling the pharmacy to try to get her medication refilled, but she's having no luck. So Laura gets home later that day and, speaks to Patty. And Patty's like, hey, you left the window open. And remember I told you, like, we got to keep the house secure because anybody could break in. Laura apologizes, but Patty keeps going with it. Then Laura snaps. She's like, I got it. I understand. I told you I was sorry. What's wrong with you? And she storms off and slams doors. Now, 2 seconds later, she came back and apologized. She's like, I'm just so shaken up. My landlord came by the school today looking for me, and he tried to assault me while I was in the tub, and I'm just shaken up, so I'm sorry. So that smooths that over. Patty forgives her, and they move on, okay? The next day, Patty rolls up on her house, and she see Laura and the gardener outside drinking wine. Now, Laura got her titties out. She ain't got no bra on. She in this man's face, all up close to him, just flirting with him. And the man grinning. He an older man, this younger 20-year-old is paying attention to her. He cheesing. Patty walk up on the scene and says to Laura, so you just help yourself to anything you feel like you want, huh? And Laura's like, what you mean? Patty say, that's my wine. My daughter bought me that wine as a gift. By this time it's awkward, so Gardner walked away and said, hey, I'm going to see you later, Patty. What does Laura do? She takes a sip of the wine and said, this got an aftertaste to it. And then she smirk at her and walk off. So Patty go in the house and start opening bills. And she noticed that her utility bill is high. She go to talk to Laura about it. Laura gives her a wine bottle to replace the one that her daughter gave her, which you can't. It's a sentimental thing. But Patty mentions that the utility bill is high. And because it's high, she got to raise the rent. Laura's like, no, you can't raise my rent because that's not in the lease. She said, yes, I can. And they go back and forth. And she's like, well, if that's how you feel, you're going to have to find another place to live. And Laura says, I'm not going nowhere. So the scene cuts with Patty talking to her lawyer. And the lawyer's like, did you even read this damn lease? Basically, yeah, y'all had a verbal agreement, but the lease that y'all signed supersedes the lower verbal agreement. So you're up shit creek. You can't do shit. You can offer to pay for her to move, but if the girl don't want to move, she ain't got to move. Patty offers to buy Laura out, and Laura postpones the conversation. Next day, Patty goes to work, and Laura goes upstairs. Before she does that, she starts cutting all the rosebuds off the bush. She goes upstairs to Patty's room and steals a blank check and a copy of the lease that she had in her files. Patty had to go back home to get her key because she missed it. And she caught Laura in her room. Laura starts screaming at her about, no, you can't pay me to leave. I'm going to drag you to court, etc. Laura told Patty, you don't have the money or the guts to get me out of your house. Laura goes to see Patty's ex-husband at his office because he's a lawyer, and goes under a fake name and says that she's having problems with her landlord, and gets her ex-husband to file a motion under a fake name. So Laura changes the name on the petition of the address and addresses it to Patty. When Patty gets it, she goes to storm in her ex-husband's office and say, hey, listen, is this like a setup? Did you set me up with this girl? Because she from hell. The man says, no, I didn't know that this was for you. Like, this is fraud because this was a different name. Her ex-husband told her she was up shit creek because of the lease was ironclad. She yelling at her ex-husband, then storms out, okay? Now, next, Patty tries to use her accounts. Then she realizes that her money isn't there. Laura forged her signature on the checks to pull money out of her account. And the next day, Patty confronts her about it. I'm going to have to do a part 2 because I don't have enough time. So where were we? So Patty confronts Laura about her stealing money out of her account. Laura was like, I don't know what the fuck you talking about. Remember, you were sitting right there and you wrote me the check. And Patty's like, bitch, I didn't write you no damn check. I'm paraphrasing. She didn't say that. But yeah, Patty gets so frustrated she starts smashing shit. And Laura calls her crazy. And Patty screams for Laura to get out of the kitchen. Like, just get away from her. Later, Patty is in bed. She sleep. And she hear the door open and some stomping going upstairs. And it's police. She called her daughter in a panic talking about there's somebody in the house. I don't know who it is. And, she got her daughter riled up. Patty hang up with Jill, her daughter, and called 911. And then she look out the window and she see Laura talking with the police officer. Now, Laura then told the police officers that Patty was threatening her physically and that Laura thought that Patty was wanting to kill her. The police officers say, hey, if this happens again, just call us. Side note, that's why you tell first. So the next day, Patty feels guilty, so she drives all the way to her daughter's college to personally apologize for scaring the shit out of her daughter, calling her in the middle of the night, right? Everybody thinks she's crazy. Everybody is telling her that it's not as bad as she's making it out to be, like she's just super dramatic. So her daughter dismisses her and she goes about her life. Patty gets back a couple days later. Her best friend, the one she got a boutique with, calls her and said, hey, we got to do this trip. It's for the good of our business. You can't not go. So Patty installs a lock on her door and leaves. Now, while Patty is gone, Laura calls a locksmith to get the door open. And she goes in the room. She tries clothes on. Just the ultimate violation. I don't fucking understand people who like to try other people's clothes on. I mean, I get it if it's your mom and daughter shit, but other than that, I don't want your fucking clothes. But yeah, she trying on clothes, trying on lipstick, lingerie, just violating this lady. And then it's the night, with her pet rat, because I forgot Laura got a pet rat. I didn't mention before. Yeah, she go to sleep with the pet rat. Now, over the next couple of days, Laura increased her manic episodes increase. Now, she got a rat cage, and Patty's cat is sniffing around the rat cage. Laura takes the rat cage and the little, the sawdust shit that's in the cage. She takes that and, stuffs the toilet with it. Now, she is trying to get her prescription refilled. Because now we're seeing the effects of her not taking her medication. All right, so the sawdust shit that is in the bottom of the rat cage, she stuffs in the toilet and she overflows the toilet. Then she calls the health department and tells them that Patty is not keeping up her house. Like, she's not doing the maintenance on the house. And the plumbing's backed up. So they put a notice on her door. Patty gets home. And she sees what a fucking mess the house is. She walks upstairs, sees that her door is open. She walks into her fucking room, and guess who's in the goddamn tub? This bitch. She talking about her toilet. Her toilet is overflowed. She can't use her bathroom. Then tells Patty to close the door. So over the next couple of days, Patty calls a plumber and gets the plumbing fixed. And she walks in and she looks out to the pool and she sees her cat floating in the pool. The damn girl killed the damn cat. So obviously, Patty's heartbroken. I'd have been done after that. You're not touching my damn dogs. But anyway, Patty decides now to file motions to get her kicked out of the house. She should have been doing that shit way early, but whatever. Laura is served. And then Laura responds in kind to making the house more suitable for her. She started putting her artwork and shit up now. Now, Patty goes to the college to talk to the boy that likes Laura and ask him, does the chemicals that Laura worked with, could it kill a cat? And then she finds out that the boy was the one that covered for as far as the references and tries to get him to take responsibility for it. Because the cat is dead at this point. So she's upset. Patty goes into Laura's room and finds that her mail had been taped over with her new address. So she traced the old address. You remember the landlord? This guy. She traces the address to his house and leaves a note at his door talking about, hey, call me. So they meet up and the man asks her, his name is Dennis. Dennis asks Patty, hey, is she taking over your house now too? Because what his story was is that he gave her a house key while he was out of town to water his plants. And then she just took over the fucking house like she's doing with Patty. Jill comes home. Jill is Patty's daughter. Jill comes home and sees how bad it is. And she apologized to her mom. She's like, hey, Mom, I didn't know it was this bad. Because the house is a mess at this point. Jill tries to convince her mama, Patty, hey, why don't you just come stay with me until the evictions are over? And Patty's like, no, she's not finna scare me out of my own house. So she takes some, like, bread and peanut butter and jelly and shit, like, up to her room to hold herself up in there, you know, and to try to brave it out. Laura brings the boy that like her back to the house and gives him some sort of sad story about her life and what happened before. And then she fucks him on the couch in full view. Patty go downstairs and she see all of this while this is happening. Patty is disgusted, so she runs back up to her room and closes the door. So the next day, Patty rolls up after work and police are surrounding the house. And there's a man in handcuffs. The police officer asks him, do you know this man? She says no. Jill, her daughter, runs up and says, hey, this is my boyfriend. We came by to take you to dinner. We wanted to surprise you with dinner. So Laura starts screaming at Jill, talking about, y'all were trying to intimidate me. He was trying to kill me to get me out the house, etc. So it's a big-ass screaming match. So, you know, the police officers are both telling both parties, hey, y'all should just file a complaint, etc. But Laura, I keep saying etc., sorry. Laura is trying to paint that picture that this woman is trying to kill her. Laura goes to court and gets the judge to sign a restraining order. So that night, the police officers stop by and tell her she got to leave her house. Patty has to leave her house because she would be in violation of the restraining order. So they give her a couple minutes to pack to get the fuck up out of there. They go to court. Laura was like, this woman is dangerous. She says she's trying to kill me and I can't afford to move anywhere else. So something has to be done. This dumbass judge, and because this was a stupid arrangement, says, well, I'm going to let Patty back into her house because she doesn't have, nothing really concerning with me putting her back in her own house. But the rules are that you can't be downstairs at a certain hour and you can't be in the shared spaces at a certain hour. So they both got rules they got to follow in one household. So Patty puts out rat traps and was able to catch Laura's pet rat. And then she shows her the pet rat. She says, see what happens when you leave food around? And she goes outside to put the rat in the trash can. She comes back inside and Laura's hanging around the corner with a knife, with scissors in her hand, real threatening. She didn't say anything. She was just holding the scissors up to her face. And then she walks away. The next day, Laura goes into her college and picks out some biohazard disease vials. Now, the boy that she is screwing sees her doing this. When Patty leaves, Laura goes back into Patty's room. Laura starts injecting Patty's bag of apples with whatever the substance she took from the lab was. And the boy that Laura was screwing goes in Laura's bag after she gets back to the school and finds a old number. He calls it and he finds out that Laura lied about her name. The old man that she claimed was her dad told him, hey, no, I'm not her dad. She used to work for me. And my wife didn't like her. My wife said that Laura tried to run her over, but I don't believe it. Like, he adores that woman. Patty gets Laura arrested for assaulting her because Patty recorded Laura screaming, I'm going to kill you, like on the answering machine. Laura gets the college boy to bail her out of jail. She knees him in the nuts and then heads back to the house to try to take out Patty. Laura takes that syringe she had filled with bacteria to try to take her out. They scuffle and it ends up in Laura's gut. Patty holds Laura and hugs her while she dies. I hated the ending, but it was a great suspense film. So that's it.